The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the second day of October. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Mediquals Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Teo Dill will be with us in a bit to bring the latest in the news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. How's everyone doing today? It's hump day. Yeah, it's the middle of the traditional work week. So for those who hate their jobs, we're halfway to the end of it. To those who love their jobs, we're still halfway through. But happy hump day to everyone out there. And yes, wonderful Wednesday, one and all, says David Michael Wilson, and a wonderful Wednesday indeed, David Michael Wilson. Wonderful Wednesday to everyone out there. It's going to be a show today. So greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Carl Neblett, who is the One Bermuda Alliance candidate for the upcoming by-election in Constituency 36. As you know, we had Lieutenant Cyree Bean, who's running as an independent, on the show on Monday. On Tuesday, we had the leader of the Free Democratic Movement, the Honorable Mark Bean, and today we have the One Bermuda Alliance candidate, Carl Neblett, for Constituency 36. Unfortunately, and I'll address it a bit later, we will not be having the candidate from the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party, who is Reverend Dr. Emily Gail Dill, and who is part of the TDH community. Not sure if anyone had a chance, but wonderful conversation last night with TNN, with I'm not all three, but with three of the candidates who are looking to basically fulfill the role as MP in Constituency 36. So props to Trevor over at TNN and all three gentlemen for making themselves available to Bermuda as they bid to become the representative in that area. Please don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, we've got the loud shouting good morning from our colleague Teray Tull. Awesome Wednesday, Jamel and Teo. We had a nice rain shower. Yippee, says Suzanne Ingham. Teray Tull says, shaking my head. I wish you'd welcome me back. We're going to welcome you back soon. Come on, we're going to welcome you back. All right, so let's jump into today's discussion, audience, before we go to the news break and bring in the candidate for 36 for the One Bermuda Alliance, Carl Neblett. But the question of the morning, it seems that people don't understand the role of the media or have different ideas of what the media is supposed to be. You know, I've been very clear since we started this show. I'm not a journalist, and I have way too much respect for journalists to act as one. On this show, we don't interview people, we facilitate conversations. If you know me, you know I can't stand when people say, oh, you interview. I don't interview people. I have conversations with people. I have discussions. I facilitate conversations between guests and you, the audience, right? Journalists have a very different job. They present news stories. And its various forms. It's not always investigative journalism. There's lifestyle. There's so many different forms. There's writing styles, reporting styles. I am not a journalist. I want to be very clear in that. I'm a talk show host. You've got Bill O'Reilly. You've got Joy Ann Reid and many others. Stephen A. Smith. They may have started as journalists, but they became talk show hosts. Oprah Winfrey started as a journalist, talk show host. Now, I understand from my time working in radio in Bermuda, especially the days when Teo was at the height of morning radio in Bermuda. And people would always say, oh, you guys can't be biased. You're journalists. We're not journalists. Stop thinking that everyone in media falls under the same umbrella. That's a mistake we make. Especially when so many Bermudians tune in to media that aligns with their thoughts and are like, yeah, yep, uh-huh. Talk show hosts don't have the same responsibility as a journalist. Journalists, as Maya and Teo will tell you, they have the responsibility to report fairly. I can have my biases. I'm not shy about my biases. I take accountability for my biases. And I'll address all of that a bit later. But the question of the morning is, what do you believe the role of the media is in the political process? What do you believe? And before we even get to that, do you believe that the media influences how people vote? Yes or no? Just a quick yes or no. Do you believe that the media influences how people vote? Yes or no? Do you believe that? Do you believe the media influences how people vote? Do you believe that? Just a quick yes or no. Do you believe the media influences how people vote? Brenda Simon says yes. Teray Tull says yes. Sean Smith says yes. Okay. Anyone else? Do you believe the media influences how people vote? And again, the other question, the question of the morning is, what do you believe the role of the media is in the political process? What do you believe the role of the media is in the political process? Mia Chambray on Instagram says yes. Another yes. All right. So Suzanne Ingham says, unfortunately, most yes. Sheikha Rana says yes. David Michael Wilson says yes. Sherry Lynn Johnson says yes. Janet Maynard says yes. So I'm going to put it up. I'm going to flip it because Teo and I discussed this before the show. Does the media influence how you vote? Does the media influence how you vote? And again, what do you believe the role of the media is in the political process? I'm glad David Michael Wilson shared this because it goes against everything I just said. He said, role of the media, report the facts. That's not the role of the media. That's the role of journalists. But that's not the role of the media. Media has such a broad scope, especially in the podcast era. The role of the media is really to engage and share information. And that's part of the problem. We expect facts from the media. Unfortunately, we're not going to get facts. Now, from news journalists, that would be more realistic. All right. See, Teo predicted this. Man, that boy a genius. He a genius. See, we discussed before. I said, Tay, let's ask, does the media influence how you vote? He says, no, they ain't going to be honest with that. So we said, well, do you believe the media influences how people vote? So remember when we asked, do you believe that the media influences how people vote? Everybody said yes. But then we asked, does the media influence how you vote? You say no. Interesting. Sean Smith says no. Brenda Simons, nope. Maurice Foley, no. Janet Maynard, no. Suzanne Ingham says the media should always report the facts fairly. Again, that's journalism. Shannon Smith says no. Teray Toll says people are working with limited cognitive abilities and time to be very well informed. The media tends to fill this gap by highlighting what people should be paying attention to, but otherwise may miss. The role of the media is to report platforms and intentions of various parties. Suzanne Ingham says, no, the media doesn't change my mind. Just give me facts given fairly. Teray Toll says, yes, the media influences my vote. I appreciate her. I really do, because she gets what the question. Not saying anyone else doesn't. Nicole also says, no, I watch and notice everything these politicians do in real time. David Michael Wilson says they shouldn't, but they do in most cases. Let me address what Nicole Hassel said. Let me address this real quickly, folks. And if you're tuned in to see if I'm going to touch on the guest, Reverend Dr. Emily Gail Dill, who was supposed to be on today in the PLP, yes, I will touch on that in a bit. Don't go anywhere. I will touch on that. But I want to focus on Nicole Hassel's comment. She says, no, the media doesn't influence her vote. I watch and notice everything these politicians do in real time. Bingo. Bingo. I focus on the politicians and what they do. The media couldn't get me to like or dislike Donald Trump, for instance, or Joe Biden, or Barack Obama, or Kamala Harris. They could not do that for me, because I understand it a bit. I understand how media works, and it can be very influential. I want to know what policies are they speaking about, and how they'll impact my family, my friends, my community, and myself. Not just what they speak of, but what do they pass? What are they pushing for? The media has a very interesting role in all of this. To share information. To share information. There was a debate last night, very cordial, actually. I was impressed with the level of maturity in the debate last night. Two people from two different spaces. Now, and if you ask me, I felt that the journalists who were conducting it were very fair. I don't care what side of the fence you sit on, but you've got to admit, based on recent history, Donald Trump would have entered that space last night and immediately took issue with the moderators for whatever reason, because that's what he does. The media is the enemy. He's created this thing where the media is the enemy, right? That didn't happen. And yes, it got a little out of hand at one point. But the responsibility of the media as a whole is to ensure that people have access to information. Right? That's the responsibility. Journalists are there to provide stories. They're the ones that uncover the facts and truths. You know, the fact-checking thing. Sam Strangeways at the Royal Gazette. It's one of my favorite journalists. I love, there's not a journalist in Bermuda I really dislike. I mean, Sam Strangeways, I love Gary Foster Skelton, and obviously my favorites here on the Daily Hour, Taylor and Maya, right? But Sam Strangeways, she's a gem. She's the only one really in Bermuda that's doing any form of investigative journalism on a regular basis. I know you all have your issues with Trevor. Trevor's a national treasure too, whether you like him or not. He is providing a service that you all love. It's about bringing information to you. What you choose to do with that information, that's on you. That's on you. One of the things I challenged myself to do when I was doing media courses in school is to tune in to things that I don't agree with. I told you the other day, that's how I started watching Bill O'Reilly. I'm like, this guy's crazy. How could he say that? I spent many years watching MSNBC. if we're not allowing ourselves to absorb different perspectives, then is everything that we're absorbing from what aligns with our beliefs fact or satisfying our feelings? Sean DeShields says, quote, "The media is the most powerful entity on earth, as they have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent," end quote, Malcolm X. One of my favorite quotes, actually. One of my favorite quotes. The thing I love about doing this show, and I'll share it a bit later, we allow you to be a part of the information that we're sharing. But I want to say this because I want to bring Teo in, and I want to bring Mr. Neblett in a bit early so that he has the same amount of time that the other candidates had. But I want to say this regarding the absence of the PLP candidate, Reverend Dr. Emily Gail Dill, not just this morning, but last night on TNN. Teray Tull, who is the youngest and newest member of the Daily Hour team, suggested that we have all the candidates on this show to engage with our audience in the lead up to this by-election. We agreed and eventually made changes to our scheduling to accommodate each candidate. Unfortunately, we were notified by email on Monday afternoon that the PLP candidate was no longer available to appear on the show. Reverend Emily Gail Dill, who has been, she's contesting the by-election for the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party. She's someone we at the Daily Hour greatly appreciate for her support and engagement on a regular basis. We believe that she deserved the same time on this platform as those she's going up against. It's only right and fair that she gets to engage with the very community that she's a part of. And it seems this decision was beyond her. To be clear, we have had various people from the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party on this show recently. Unless they don't consider Curtis Dickinson a member of the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party, well, he was on less than a month ago. Unless they don't consider the Premier's right-hand man, Senator and Minister Owen Darrell, who was on in May, then I don't know what to tell you. Let me say this. As a show, we don't lean in any particular political direction. Each host is allowed to support who they choose and feel how they feel, as long as they're not derogatory or defaming anyone. We each have our own biases and political leanings, but we are not CNN, Fox, MSNBC, or any of those political leaning organizations. We value perspectives not only from our hosts, but also from our audience. So in closing, I want to say this. When I say that I'm an equal opportunity offender, it isn't some sort of catchphrase. It's who I am. So it's fascinating to me when supporters of any political party claim that I'm anti that organization, especially when I'm equally critical of the others. It's actually not that I'm anti anything, but I'm pro-Bermuda and Bermudian. If anything, I feel that the governing of Bermuda has been anti-Bermuda and anti-Bermudian for far too long. So instead of focusing on who you believe is anti this or that, focus on how the organization you support can do better. Remove the ego, take accountability, and face the concerns of the people you represent. My mind can be changed, and I'm pretty sure there are others like me out there too. But to the government and anyone seeking political office, please don't be so arrogant that you ignore the very people that you may someday need, not just in politics, but in life. And I say everything I just said with love, all love, and I mean it. Bermuda needs a comeback. And as long as we have people who are willing to go down with the Titanic, the comeback's not on. Springtail Dillon for Daily Hour Newsbreak. And we've got Carl Neblett, the candidate for the One Bermuda Alliance, coming up after that.
Hey, morning, Jay. Thank you very much for what you just said, making it plain, as we always should at least attempt to do. Now, what I wanted to ask you is, do you remember, like back in the day when we were together on Hot, how folks, talk about us in the same way? But it's just the hard enemy was the UBP.
Teo, I know you stepped away just now. I literally said that. When you were the height of Bermuda Morning Radio, they would say, "Oh, you guys can't be biased. You're this and that." Like I literally, Teo, like Teo said, the UBP at the time.
And the thing that's really interesting, and I've talked to you about this 1,000 times over the years. The thing that frustrates me the most is this weird American-driven presumption that media outlets have to be neutral, right? In the history of media all around the world, every single space outside the U.S. doesn't make that pretense, right? They are obligated to report the facts, obviously, but they have their ideological positions. And they're transparent with their audience. Like, I believe these things about the world, and it shapes my interpretation of real events. Now, I'm going to tell you what those real events are, but I'm also going to tell you my interpretation. And the reason that's fine is because I've been transparent about my ideological basis. Like in the UK, they have the Guardian and they have the Telegraph. Everybody knows it has always been one on the left, one on the right, and everybody's fine with it. But in America, ever since the Reagan era, they've had this weird obsession with like the pretense of our objectivity, and I can't stand it because it means that they're lying from jump as opposed to being clear. Sorry, let's get to the news.
No, thank you for saying that, because I think we don't understand as a small community the role of the media, and we are bringing American like okay. And the thing is, most people watch American TV, right? So you watch MSNBC. Joy Reid is not shy about her political bias.
Which is good. Like, I want to know.
Sean Henry was not shy about his political bias. It's weird to me how people act. I'm very honest about my bias. I've been honest about my bias from jump, whether it's come to tourism or governments. Teo, take it away.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm sorry to start off this way because it's not such good news. Every day, around half a dozen road traffic collisions are reported to police. Every day. Now, this entirely predictable update from the BPS via Acting Superintendent Robert Cardwell explained that Operation Vega's increased traffic enforcement was expected to cut the number of collisions and traffic offenses. Turns out hasn't worked as well as they had hoped. More cops are watching for illegal activity, and issuing more tickets hasn't caused our driving behavior to change. Most of the collisions are single vehicle, which means that most of the causes are avoidable. Now, here's the key point here. We went through the stats and found the 4 most noticeable categories of traffic offenses that spiked during the third quarter beyond the previous 2. Driving with no insurance, driving while unlicensed, and disobeying traffic signs increased by a bit, as you can see here, while parking offenses more than doubled. Now, the thing that I found interesting about these increases is that half of them definitely have to do with people having sufficient or insufficient disposable income, and the other 2 are just straight up irresponsibility, none of which tell a good story about our national driving culture.
Yeah. I as soon as I saw that the insurance went up top, I was just like, that could come down to just the cost of living, but others is just like a disregard.
And that, I think, sort of sums up the problems that we've got with our driving culture. Folks don't have enough money to do what they're supposed to do, and folks just don't take the rules seriously enough to make sure everybody stays safe. Now, we haven't figured out, obviously, how to make local driving sufficiently safe yet, but one possible solution I don't think Bermuda's investigated yet is using AI, because it turns out, according to new robo-taxi service Waymo, the machines are actually better at avoiding collisions than people, even while the bots are driving alongside people on the roads in real time.
There's more than 22 million rider-only miles that have been driven through June of this year by Waymo vehicles. That is a more than 200% increase over just 8 months. Waymo's new safety website, though, it makes the case with lots of data that robotaxis are actually safer than human drivers. They use a formula that compares its driverless vehicles to human driver benchmarks to show that they're safer in almost every category.
Did that surprise you as much as it did me?
Yeah, I'm always, we were taught when we were young, whatever man makes breaks, that's my only concern.
Yeah, because if one goes wrong and ends up like running over like 13 people at a bus stop, it's horrifying. But as it stands right now, the bots are better at driving than we are.
Besides Elon being a very well, that's my bias. I'm still on the fence about Teslas because if tech goes down, I'm like, is this car gonna drive me like? Oh, I don't know. I'm on the fence, but I'm happy to learn and give things a chance. I was late to like ride sharing because of that.
Yeah, no, I'm similar to you. We're kind of, I think it's because we're both over 40. Like we crossed into that.
What? You always gotta age me, bro. Can't you age?
What you mean?
Bring me in it,
bro. I'm aging me too. Look. Look at this. Look.
Yeah, you got the gray, and I'm got none up here. So
In other news, 3 men are now in police custody following the seizure of $700,000 in controlled drugs, 2 firearms, and some ammunition. The operation that ended with this trio of men being arrested, with a 29-year-old man is still being sought in connection with the relevant matter, went down on Monday. And SIU DCI Jason Smith shared that this means 14 guns have been taken off the street by police in the past 10 months, which is unambiguously good news.
That's brilliant. And I think when I was listening to the conversation on TNN last night, they spoke of that. And I'd like to see that. And not congratulations, but I'm grateful to the police who continue to clean up the streets in this respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a good look all around. Now, in other cool news, the 3rd annual Video Game Design Challenge is going down on October 18th and 19th. It's all put together by Bermuda Island Games and Decipher Communications. It's a 2-day event where local game devs come together to learn and build their own games over a weekend, guided by a secret theme. Founder Adrian Lodge, who's a good brother, announced that their special guest is senior animator Moira Kelly, who's got a deep background in game dev. Tickets are $25 a pop, and you can register via BermudaIslandGames.com. Now, I got a bit of trivia for you today. What is the biggest selling video game of all time? Now, I gave 2 hints. It's not Minecraft. And I know without having to ask that you have played it at least a little bit.
Is it Grand Theft Auto?
Nope, that's number 3.
Well, the only game I play is FIFA, bro.
Okay, here we go. Prep yourself. Tetris. 520 million copies sold on basically every platform ever, which is close to double Minecraft's numbers.
How did I not know that? Like, I literally downloaded it on my phone last year. Gee.
Tetris is one of them ones. It's one of the most easily understood and playable games of all time. Anybody can pick that thing up and go.
All right. Tetris makes sense, Tay. Yeah.
Yeah. 500 million over the last 40 years, I guess. Now, as far as weather's concerned, we got a big patch of low pressure headed our way, which is going to bring some rain, which we already experienced so far this morning, to the island, alongside stronger winds and an active small craft warning through tomorrow. Temps should top out at 80 degrees even, which follows the recent trend, showing that summer is definitely behind us, and thank goodness for that.
All righty, Taya. Thank you so much for that. We've got a days of the year, Taya. It's so many things today, right? But I want to go with this one, Teo. In the US, it's National Name Your Car Day. Name Your Car Day. So I want to ask the audience, and don't laugh at my names, but do you all name your vehicles? Like what, or even your favorite cab, or like, did you name your
No.
BMX.
I never had that relationship with vehicles because I had, you remember I told you about it when I ran into the Victor Scott Gates and on my bike. Yeah. So I don't have a deep relationship with vehicles.
Taylor's been scarred. Well, my first car was named Sugar Lips. I said not to laugh. Any audience?
I don't think I could control myself. I'm sorry.
My second car, what was she named? She was named Goldilocks.
Okay.
Yep. She was like, and then I had Sylvie. What was she named? Sylvie, because she is silver. And my previous car to now was Snow White.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my current vehicle, I'm in love with her. She's named
Lady.
Yeah, she's named Lady.
Do you get in like arguments with them? Because it seems like you're making them into like a proxy for a relationship.
Yeah, she doesn't start. What's wrong with you today? Why you? Yeah, you do, Taylor.
Right. Okay.
I'm the only one who has a car name. Well, this is not a car name. David Michael Wilson says his car's named Car.
Well, I mean that seems very appropriate to me. I'm just saying.
Well, we've got Maya says you better have a relationship with your vehicle, Taylor. They can hear you now. I call mine Red.
Actually, Maya's bike is fly though. Like the other day, she was riding past on Front Street. I looked up, I saw her bike before I saw her, and I was like, okay, that's dope. Like it's super fresh. I have no idea what type it is, but it is really dope.
One more before you head out. NTS says his vehicle is called Duchess. Yeah.
See, do women name their cars, or is this just like a man thing?
Yes,
are you sure?
Name their cars.
No, I know some do, but it feels like men, because they're always she's, right? Like how the boats are always she's, cars are always she's. Yeah, like I don't think women masculinize their vehicles in the same way. Like
Renee says Snowy.
Snowy.
Sherry Lynn Johnson says Baby Onyx. That's that strip joint outside my window. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was about to say that this is a family show. Come on.
All right, Tay, we gotta go because you know how I get.
Yeah.
By myself today, didn't I? Wasn't I on my best behavior, Tay? Give me some props.
1,000%. I honestly was gonna WhatsApp you later to say I'm proud of you, man. You cooking today. That's a good show.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks, man.
All right, folks. Teo Dill. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 1 minute, 58 seconds with the candidate for the One Bermuda Alliance for Constituency 36, Carl Neblett. Stick with us.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose Peoples, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it Peoples. I call it my one-stop shop in the city. Peoples, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Unlock your business potential with BDC's General Microloan, offering up to $30,000 for Bermudian small and medium businesses. Whether it's for inventory, working capital, or equipment, we provide 100% guarantee on approved loans. Simple application, low interest rates, and fast processing. Apply today and make your business dream come true.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazok Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Please do not forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We've got the candidate for the One Bermuda Alliance for the upcoming by-election on Friday, Mr. Carl Neblett. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome. Greetings, sir. How are you?
I am very good, Jamal. Good morning, and good morning, Bermuda.
Yeah, well, I've got to ask you before we jump in. Do you name your vehicles?
Jamal, you know, yourself and Teo had me in stitches just a few minutes ago listening to you guys. Oh my God. I've tried to remain very neutral in that area, but
fair enough. Well, first of all, thanks for making yourself available, coming on. We appreciate you engaging with us. As I stated, we had Cyree Bean, who's running as an independent candidate. We had him on Monday, and we had Free Democratic Movement, Mark Bean, the Honorable Mark Bean on yesterday. And then I did get the chance to see all three of you gentlemen. I think you guys actually set the stage for that VP debate in the US last night, because
oh wow,
I tell no lies. It was encouraging to see a group of people who have different political ideologies having a conversation around a table like adults. It sounded better than what I used to hear in the House of Assembly. So I'm encouraged that regardless of who is successful of you three, that Bermuda will benefit. But before we jump into today's conversation about the by-election and politics in particular, just give the audience a bit, let them know who you are.
Okay. I mean, as everyone knows, I am not a born Bermudian, but I was born in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, grew up in Jamaica with my mom's family, and finished my education in Barbados. However, I have now lived and worked and served in Bermuda longer than anywhere I have lived in my life, and this is my home. I served in the Bermuda Police Service for almost 30 years. Combined career actually was 36 years, which makes me smile because here it is, I'm running in Constituency 36. So that must be my lucky number. I should play the lottery. Outside of that, I served in quite a few areas of the Bermuda Police Service. And of course, the big area that I focused on was the Police Association, where I served for 9 years as their chairman. So I've had quite a bit of, background and dealings when having to communicate and react and interact with government and government officials during that period of time. And most of all, I lived and worked in Somerset for over 10 years. I lived on Bowes Island, actually not too far from where candidate Cyree Bean grew up. And of course, I got moved from that location during a very horrible weekend that we had back in 1999. And unfortunately, I did not go back to the constituency mainly because of the travel time that existed from Somerset to Central and the long hours that we were putting in. And of course, I certainly did not want to fall asleep behind the steering wheel going home and end up being a statistic in Bermuda. So I had to move out of the parish to a more centralized parish. But I served the Somerset, the Sands Parish community for 10 years. And that's where I built of the relationships.
So you're pretty familiar with the area.
Extremely familiar.
Yeah, it's not just someone who is just, an outsider coming in. I know people are very particular in Bermuda about that. So you thank you for sharing your background. I mean, you seem very ingrained in the community just based on what you said. So as I've asked the other two candidates, why'd you decide to throw your hat in the political ring?
Well, I mean, Jamal, let me just say this. I think we all have all types of varying reasons. Where I am concerned is you reach a stage in your life where you can either go or you can stay. Uh, I remember you saying earlier, if you're going to go down with the ship, stand fast and go down with the ship. Well, I don't plan to go down with the ship. I want to stay here and that ship float. And Bermuda, based on the current situation that we're facing, we are a sinking ship. And I had to make a very conscious decision. That decision is, should I just stay in the background and continue complaining about everything and this, the high cost of living, I can't get this done, you name it. I've heard it over the last couple months canvassing. The same things that all the constituents are saying to me is the same thing that I've been saying to other people. So based on that alone, I made a conscious decision to throw my hat in the ring. I want to be a part of the reconstruction of this community. And the way you can do that is to become involved.
And I believe that's admirable. I do. People always say, Jamal, why don't you get into politics? And I say, well, first, I have a foul potty mouth. I'm not mature enough to deal with that. Secondly, I'm not as bad as former President Trump, but people say names sometimes. And so I just know mature-wise, I'm not there. And I think my challenge is I don't believe that people know what's in the best interest sometimes. And the hard thing as a politician, you have to do things. And I will say to their credit, the One Bermuda Alliance government did do a lot of things that were not popular that made sense for Bermuda. And I think that's the thing that I don't think Bermudians are ready for that kind of governance. I know everyone's championing Curtis Dickinson, for instance, to be the leader of the PLP, but I know that if he were to become the leader, which is not a bad thing, he would have to make some very unpopular decisions, as did former Finance Minister Bob Richards, to get Bermuda back on track. And we have to, we're going to have some uncomfortable days ahead, regardless of who's government. One, we just need the right people there. But you entered the political space, right?
Yes.
Why do you believe that the One Bermuda Alliance is the best political party to lead Bermuda, though?
Okay, it's only fair to say this. The One Bermuda Alliance actually, shows a very true reflection of Bermuda society at large. In our party, we have everyone from every aspects of life in Bermuda, from rich to middle to what is considered poor, across the entire spectrum of the Bermuda landscape. And the bottom line here is it shows a much truer reflection of Bermuda. I also had a very good friend in the party who didn't encourage me, by the way, and I had to make that conscious decision all on my own, because at the end of the day, it was a choice between what I was seeing with the present government and the possibilities of the OBA. And I remembered when the OBA were in power for the short stint, what they had done in such a short time. They accomplished quite a bit. And like you said, certain decisions were made that weren't comfortable with a lot of people. But guess what? They actually made sense at the time when the decisions were made, and we looked at the prosperity that existed during that short period of time when they were in office. And that has not been duplicated by the current government. And nobody seems to understand that that has not been duplicated. So when decision time came, I knew where I was going, and I went with the One Bermuda Alliance, and that was my decision.
Understood. Let's focus on the by-election now.
Yes.
What are you hearing on the doorstep from constituents? What are their top concerns?
As mentioned on TNN's show last night, one of the biggest issues is the cost of living. Everybody is being affected by the high cost of living. everybody's worried about the astronomical debt that this country faces. If you do ask most people if they know what the debt is, they can't give you a figure, but it's close to $4 billion, $3.92 billion, and it's probably more than is actually explained to be. Of course, healthcare is a big issue, especially amongst the seniors. The education situation, we all know what's happened in Sands Parish with the two schools that were pretty much being taken offline, if you want to use that catchphrase these days, because everything is being taken offline. But two schools were being closed down, and you're talking about schools that have pretty much been in that community and in those communities up there from the turn of the century. And of course, the infrastructure issues with the roads, the overgrowth, something that was non-existent 35 years ago. This was one of the most pristine countries this side of the Western Hemisphere, and no country to the south of us could touch the landscape of Bermuda. Bermuda was considered a big lawn back in the day. You come here and everything was well kept. And of course, the crime situation, and it doesn't bode well that you hear on the news no more than 24 hours ago that some firearms and drugs and 3 individuals have been arrested in possession of these items. That has been a long ongoing issue across the island, and I'm very happy that the police services actually remaining vigilant in what they're doing. But we still need more coverage, and then unfortunately, I'm going to say it for the general public and for everyone that lives here in Bermuda. We don't see the police like we used to. When I was on the job, you couldn't escape the police. Now you can travel from end to end and don't see one single patrol car on the road. And that's disheartening, because the police are supposed to be out there. Can they be in a position to stop all of the varying accidents that are happening across the island? Yes, they can. I'm sure they can. At the end of the day, when you're not seen, unfortunately, this is what's going to happen. Driving behavior has just increased, astronomically, and that never used to happen.
And I think, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the commissioner said as much when he was on this show recently.
Okay.
They want to be seen. I think they have a numbers game, and I'd like to come back to that question as well, just on the police and as that's your expertise. But we have problems, generating interest in people joining. So I want to come back.
Yes.
But let's say you're elected. If you're elected, the PLP as a government has such a great majority.
Yes.
What difference do you think you can make in the House with a party who does not have that many people to go against them? Like, what do you bring in there that can help shape a formidable opposition?
Well, do you mind if I use an expression, Jamal? David brought down Goliath. Okay, and the bottom line here is we may be small in numbers, but at this present point in time, the very small group of parliamentarians that we have on our side have been sticking it to the present government at every avenue with all of the information. And we're talking about factual information that has been forthcoming to deal with some of the issues. Unfortunately, when you have the majority in a house, you will always be shot down. I mean, I looked at the decision just last week regarding that so-called pension issue and borrowing on your pension. That's crazy. And to have 2 of their own party members stand up against it, even with the others who were on our side who are also against it. The fact of the matter, they had the majority and it was passed. So therein lies some of the issues. But my biggest concern for if and when I do get into office, and I'm hoping that I will, that I'm going to start holding government officials accountable. Everybody has to be held accountable. And the nonsense that I've seen out here since I started this journey, since I started this process over the last couple of months, is disheartening, to go into a constituency and see the degradation that has been caused, the neglect that has been caused. And of course, to top it off, the fact that your constituents are telling you, oh, we never saw the person that was voted into office. How can you let your constituents down like that? You can't do that. You should be there to answer, to show those individuals in the constituency and the parish that you actually and truly care about them. And when you have neglected to do that, therein lies a very serious problem.
Yeah. No, indeed. I think that's something that people have had for years, but it's also, and I'll talk about canvassing a bit later. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Both of the previous candidates have addressed this. What are your thoughts on the by-election venue being the home church of your opponent, Reverend Dr. Emily Gildill? Now, this is something that the leader of the Bermuda Alliance, Jaron Richardson, brought to light.
Yes.
As the actual candidate, what is your perspective?
Well, Jamal, I'm going to be very fair, and I'm going to tell the Bermudian public that's listening in this morning. The minute the candidate for the PLP was identified and had knowledge that she was going to be running as a candidate in Constituency 36, and then her church and her home, even though she may not be residing there at this present point in time, they should have realized it's a conflict of interest and indicate that to the registrar and have it moved to a more neutral area, a neutral zone, somewhere that conflict and advantage would be completely dissipated. The bottom line is they didn't. And during the advance poll on Friday, the situation that occurred at that location was a perfect example as to why it should never have been there in the first place.
And just going about what happened for those who may not know, what happened at the station?
Well, we thought it was going to be, an intro from Dr. Dill's husband. But just the general attitude that was exhibited by her husband towards us as candidates, it actually disheartened me, because in my mind, and I have the deepest respect for any leader and elder of any church across this beautiful island. I mean, Bermuda has probably the most churches per capita than anywhere else in the world. But every leader, we are leaders of the church, are supposed to be extremely sensitive in the way that they actually conduct themselves, because this impacts on their churches. And for a leader of a congregation and the leader of the AME churches across Bermuda to be calling us to our faces idiots, that was insulting, to say the least. To make matters worse, when you're going to indicate that politics is evil, what kind of message are you then sending to the same person that you're married to? That that raises some very serious questions amongst us. And it was unfortunate that our independent candidate and his father, where this entire situation occurred, had to experience that for themselves, because it was under their tent and they were totally not expecting that to happen. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting it to happen either. And I did not go there, we did not go there to be caught up in any type of disruption with anyone. We walked away. We took the high road and we walked away because that was not the time for that type of behavior to be exhibited to us. Here it is. We have put ourselves forward. Yes, we have done that. We were there for the process to proceed. It was conducted, in my opinion, at the highest level by the parliamentary representatives that were there. But at the end of the day, the behavior was not acceptable, especially from a leader of a church. No, that's a big no-no. And you do not do that. If you have those feelings in your mind as a church official, the leader of a congregation in the community, you keep those things to yourself and have those conversations somewhere else. But to be going off on a tirade and your wife is telling you to stop, and you're not going to stop, you will speak your mind. I have no issues with people speaking their mind, but there's a time and place for everything.
Indeed. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for Mr. Neblett, please send your comments and questions through. We'll try to get through as many as possible. I should have asked the other two candidates this question as well. But I'm going to ask you, are you concerned at all that the three of you could cancel each other out and basically hand this seat to the sitting government?
Anything is possible, Jamal. Politics is a very different landscape. You asked the question earlier at the very beginning of the show, whether media actually assist in the decision-making process for people to vote. And then then the other question that followed. And the bottom line here is anything is possible. We don't know whether the constituents are going to come out and vote party. We don't know whether they're going to come out and vote individuals because of relationships. We don't know whether the constituents are going to come out and base their vote on what is presently occurring. It's hard to say. We just don't know because we're not in the minds of the constituents.
Yeah, I got you. And understandable. If you're not successful in this by-election, how do you plan to stay involved to ensure that we do get a better Bermuda?
I will continue on the path that I have now basically committed myself to. I will be remaining in Constituency 36. And I have so many ideas, Jamal, to turn that constituency and the parish around. I think one of my pet peeves, and I don't think I've said it enough or at all, but Sands Parish, and I'll use Dockyard, of which Constituency 36 falls in, that is the biggest gateway into Bermuda. The National Airport is not the biggest gateway. On any given week in Constituency 36, you have 2 to 3 mega cruise ships, which by the time they dock and passengers disembark, you have anywhere between 8,000 plus to close to 14,000 people coming off to be conveyed to varying areas across the island, to the beaches, Horseshoe Beach and some of the other beaches that tourists read up about before their trek to the island, going to the lighthouse, you name it. And the bottom line is to be leaving that area and driving through Somerset to what is considered a dead village, a dilapidated village, to be seeing the degradation in some of the buildings that currently exist, the roads that they have to travel on just to get out of the parish to go to be conveyed where they're going. It's disheartening. That's not the first impression that you want to see in a country that is considered a first world country. That's not what you want to see.
Indeed. Let's go to the audience real quickly. Sean Smith, going back to the venue, he says, correct me if I'm wrong, but did all the candidates have meetings with the governor regarding the venue? If so, are you able to share what the outcome of that meeting was?
Yes, all four candidates, all four of us did have meetings with the governor, and I'm very sure everybody was made aware of her position when she announced that in her capacity as governor, she was not going to interfere with the process.
Okay. Unfortunate. It's I want to go back to the police situation. We have had, you're right. When I grew up, there were police everywhere. I remember even being young and we had the police school right there on Glebe Road, above Mr. Scott, and saw them marching through the neighborhood in great numbers. As you know, as you enter the House of Assembly, how do you plan? I mean, based on your experience, you'd make a great Minister of National Security, it seems. So what would be your plans to say, you know what, this is how we can improve or increase the police numbers?
Well, one of the biggest issues that we face, Jamal, and this, remember, this compounds our impacts on everything that we're trying to achieve. In order to bolster the police numbers, we have to bolster the police budget. With police budget, you then have the recruiting drive for Bermudians, suitably qualified Bermudians to join the job. And I don't, I think one of the biggest issues that we face as a country, and it's not only happening in the Bermuda Police Service, it's actually happening in every aspect of government, especially in the essential services. And that is finding the candidates, to use the term, to join the organizations. And it's based on the entrance requirements for those varying organizations. The pool of people and applicants to get into the service, it's very small. The police, more so than the other three major essential services, has always had that issue. But here of late, the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service, they've had now the issues and are now thinking, actually have gone overseas and brought in contract officers to work at the airport in the short term. As you know, the Bermuda Prison Service, or the Department of Corrections as it's named, they have now had to introduce the recruiting of spouses of non-nationals who are actually living here on the island into their organization. So that will tell you that the pool is very small. But what we do need is we need to increase the budget in order for the police to operate. And if you don't have that budget, if you have that money being constantly taken away from the organization is also going to have to make decisions as to how they maintain themselves and what's important and what's not important. And as you can clearly see, decisions have been made, because right now you do not see police officers. You don't. Whereas when I came here to be a police officer almost 40 years ago, you could not travel in 2 minutes without seeing a police officer from East End to West End. You were stopped in some cases 4 times before you got to your point of destination, wherever it is you were going on the island. If you weren't stopped for speeding, it was something else. But the bottom line is, this island was well policed. And of course, it was there for the benefit of our visitors to the island as well. How can you come to an island where you don't see police officers? That's unheard of.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I really don't. But we need to find out what the budget issues are, and the fact that so much money has been taken away from the police. I totally understand the position that the organization has taken.
Gotcha. We've got some questions from the audience. Renee Simmons, she's asking, if you are successful, do you have any plans for Cross Island, especially since, as you stated, Sands is the biggest gateway to the island?
That's a very good question. Cross Island, it's a pretty big space. And as you know, the America's Cup, when it was hosted on the island, utilized that land space for everything that was mounted for the America's Cup initiative, which was extremely successful. You're talking about some square footage or land space that can be used for so many other aspects, entertainment. It can be used for varying initiatives to help children, because one of the big things that has cropped up during the canvassing is that there's nothing on the island for children to do. We don't have any types of areas on the island where we can take children, where they can actually go and enjoy themselves, actually with their families. It's a small space, but can we set up a nice play park or something along those lines? All kinds of things can be done on the island. It just so happens what is the best thing that can be done for Cross Island. Right now, it's utilized as a parking space for everything that goes on in Dockyard. I'll use the Vegan Fest festival that just passed, and the only thing that Cross Island was used for was for parking, so that the Vegan Fest festival could not be compromised by the amount of vehicles in that small space called Dockyard, because of course that weekend 2 mega cruise ships were in. But that is open for a lot of discussion. Ideas have been thrown out there, and it will be really interesting to see which would be the best idea to implement on Cross Island, whether for the short term or for the long term.
Indeed. Charles H. Jeff the second just had a comment regarding presiding elder Dill's comments. I completely agree with candidate Neblett's comments. We as a country have to do better and demand better. Indeed. And I just want to wrap it up with this, well, you know what? We just got another question from the audience. I'll ask this before we wrap it up. Aaron Hill's asking, can we ask Mr. Neblett what's the OBA plan to address corruption within the Bermuda Police Service? Before you answer that, I must say, over the last 2 years or 3, I'd say since the pandemic, there have been a lot of officers either on suspension or, things brought to light, some going to court, some the like. So it is something that the commissioner hasn't been afraid to touch on as well. But, knowing your experience and, from a political perspective, if you were to oversee something like that, how would you address it?
Okay, and I'm happy that you've asked that question, Jamal. Yes, the organization is presently dealing with all those issues internally. And as you said, quite a few officers have been placed on suspension. And in some cases, quite a few officers have been terminated. But it seems as though this goes far deeper. It's disheartening for me, Jamal, and you notice I'm pointing to myself here, to be hearing from constituents that one of the biggest issues that the organization faces is the level of corruption starting from the top. And, I don't know that as a fact. And I cannot say whether it is true or untrue. But if it is true, we will have to implement from the OBA standpoint, we will have to look outside to bring in the necessary investigators to investigate crime against the organization, because if they're corrupt officers, it cannot be dealt with internally. Unfortunately, that's my position. It may not be the OBA's position, but I'm sure they will agree with me. If you want to do this right and to be transparent, you have to bring in someone who is neutral, who is willing to investigate without any hindrance whatsoever for fear or fervor, because at the end of the day, we have to get to the nitty-gritty, and we also have to get to the truth. And if officers are corrupt, unfortunately, they have to be dealt with, because you're bringing disrepute not only to the police service, but you're also bringing disrepute to beautiful Bermuda.
Basically, in short, you can't investigate yourself, right?
No, you can't. You cannot investigate yourself.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous. You know, you can't do that. And an external authority would have to be considered.
Yeah, and I think it goes in hand with what I said regarding the venue, right?
Yes.
You know, with the by-election. My issue with both is, you know, sometimes it's not saying that investigating yourself is not going to yield the right result, or it's not saying that the by-election being held isn't going to be corrupt. Sometimes it's as simple as just removing all doubt, and I think that's the path that you're on. Before you head out, you know, you've entered this race. Obviously, when people get in these spaces, they want to win it, and they want to win it for the reasons that you've given today. Why you think, you know, what you plan to do. But why are you, speak to the people of 36 and Bermuda right now, why are you the best candidate to serve Constituency 36 in the House of Assembly?
Jamal, I think I'm the best candidate to represent the needs of Constituency 36 because I am a committed individual. You know, I think some of the comments that I've been told is that, well, if you leave, if you don't get in, will you pack up and leave like everyone else? No, I'm actually in Constituency 36 to stay. I have to deal with some of the problems and all of the problems that have been reported to me. I can just reveal here to everyone who's listening in. I was canvassing no more than 4 weeks ago, and I was in one of the areas of the constituency where I thought, you know, I found it strange that it wasn't named. So I did ask the constituents in the area, well, why don't you guys have a road sign signifying this location? And I was told by quite a few of the constituents in the area that they were dealing with this issue for over 20 years. They've been asking for the road sign for the neighborhood for over 21 years. Guys, you have got to be kidding. You're talking about a road sign that is, in my personal opinion, one of the easiest issues to resolve because it only takes a phone call to be brought to the attention of Works and Engineering to be erected. And you're telling me 21 years has passed and nothing has been done? And that's what I was told. It has never been erected. Well, the next morning, I contacted our MP in Parliament, Mr. Craig Cannonier, and I will name him. And he, in turn, contacted Works and Engineering, because, of course, he was at one point the Works and Engineering Minister. And no more than a week ago, I was informed by one of the constituents that the road sign was finally erected. And I couldn't believe that it took 21 years to do this. No, I'm just a candidate. And if I can make a phone call to get this done, why couldn't it have been done over those 21 years? Those are not just the only issues. You have a road in that constituency that has not been paved in over 40 years. How can that be? But yet, our ambassadors, who are our taxi drivers, use that road as a major tourist conveyance for their passengers because they can go to that location and watch the sunset. It's one of the most amazing views from that section of the island. But you're talking of a road that is overgrown with bush. The road itself is in a horrible state of disrepair. I would be embarrassed to take people along that road. I'm sorry, that's just me. But those are some of the issues. I am out there. I am being seen. I have to maintain that because the complaint that has come into me more so than anything else over the last couple months is that, gosh, it is so great to see someone from the government, whether it's the OBA or the PLP and the FDM, and now here most recently our independent, actually paying some interest in the constituency, I hope is not just because the election is coming up. No, this is not for the election coming up. I will be in Somerset on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis for the entire year. You're going to get tired seeing me. You're going to tell me, Mr. Neblett, don't come to my house. I think I've had enough of you, but I'm there to help. I'm there to assist in dealing with all of the problems that constituency and the parish actually have to resolve. There are many issues, and I am not going anywhere. And I think I am one of the best candidates that will be doing that. I am not going to disappear. I am there to stay whether people like it or not.
Indeed. Mr. Neblett, it's been a pleasure having you. It's been nice meeting you, and I wish you all the best on Friday in the by-election and beyond that. I believe that Bermuda needs more people, but I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Neblett. Mark Bean knows this because he's been in politics for years.
Yes, he does.
Young Cyree doesn't know it as yet, but I will be a thorn in your side with this mic. So
and you know what, Jamal? I'm happy that you have now said that, because by being a thorn in my side means you're going to hold me accountable to what I have just indicated to every person that is listening in on this program. And I'm hoping that it reaches the point where you're going to say to me, Mr. Neblett, it seems as though I'm going to bite my words here, because you have lived up to what you have said and promised. And that is what I'm going to do.
And that's all I want. I just want people to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All the best, sir. And we'll definitely be in touch. Have a great day.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening and calling in with the questions.
All right.
Have a great day.
All righty. Carl Neblett, folks, if you appreciated the conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Let everyone you know have access to the information that we discussed and that was shared. Don't go anywhere. Someone's going to get a chance to get today's question right. It's a daily play, and it's music. We'll be back in a minute, 25 seconds.
Did you know 3 out of 4 people say that they have a good understanding of life insurance? But do they really? When asked how much the yearly cost would be for a 20-year, $250,000 level term life insurance policy for a healthy 30-year-old, 80% overestimated the cost by 5 times the amount. Ready for this? The true cost for that policy is about $220 a year. That's as little as 66 cents a day, or $20 a month. So let's put this into perspective. Compared to other monthly costs, isn't getting life insurance a no-brainer? If you can trim back on some of these expenses just a little bit, it will allow you to dedicate the savings toward an affordable life insurance policy. Contact one of our life insurance agents today on the right policy for you.
Take a look at our walkthrough for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
All righty, welcome back. Thanks again to the One Bermuda Alliance candidate, Mr. Carl Neblett, for joining us this morning. Really appreciate all 3 candidates making themselves available, and I'll touch on that in a second. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Get to know the people who want to represent Bermuda. This is not just about Constituency 36, but it's about the entire island. This person will be in charge of passing legislation and policies that impact you and your loved ones. All right. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis. Folks, it is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. New episodes available on bcgtv.com. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Okay, it's music today. Here's the question. A very easy one. Yesterday, I think it was, we were sharing our music taste, our favorite genres. Of course, Sancha asked our favorite genres, and this was one of my favorite genres. Audience, don't let me down. Who was the lead singer? Who was the lead singer of The Miracles? Wow, nobody got it? Okay, woo! Shamari, I want to give you a prize just because Shamari Talbot Robinson got it first. We're going to enter you to this week's draw, Shamari, so you will be joining Sheikah Rayna. Oops, I didn't mean to put Sheikah up there, but Shamari, you will be joining. Make sure I got you there. So congratulations. Yeah, Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson wrote some hits for the Temptations too. Shamari, how old are you? How you knew that, man? How did you know that? Suzanne, you're letting me down. Who are the Miracles? Smokey Robinson and the Miracles? Come on now. You know that. Nana Pam got it right. Billy Griffin said Mark Arthur C. Phillips. Okay, no, but Smokey Robinson it was. We got to wrap this up, folks, but I just want to touch on this morning's discussion. Look, I take the role that I have on this show very seriously. I've been privileged to have a very decent career in media. I worked at Radio Disney for the Walt Disney Company. I moved on to a country radio station as a morning show producer. And Elroy Smith, Scott Pierman, and Glenn Blakeney gave me the keys to their car in Inter-Island Communications to rock and roll with Teo Dill. I have enjoyed working with Bermuda Broadcasting Company, one of my summer breaks. I have been privileged to work for the Bermuda Sun when it was in existence and contribute to other mediums, both in Bermuda and outside of Bermuda. I understand the role, the important role that the media plays in everyday life. But it's important for people who are not working in this space to have realistic expectations. If ever I say something that's not true, you need to hold me accountable like how I have to hold politicians accountable. At times, I will come on and apologize if I got something wrong. But my goal through this show is very clear: to facilitate conversations, to have discussions that are gonna bring about a better Bermuda. This is not about me. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I said, I never forget when we were fighting to end conscription, and politicians would come to me, why are you going that route? Why couldn't you just come to me and we would have got you off? Because it was never about me. It wasn't about me not going to the Bermuda Regiment. It was about removing an unfair and unjust law that was impacting young men in Bermuda. It's never been about me. So I don't take for granted. I appreciate the support that I get for the job I do in media. But I need people to understand the role of the media. It's important that you understand that so that you can manage your expectations. In regards to Mr. Neblett, on Monday, I got quite a few comments after the show about Lieutenant Cyree Bean and how people just loved him and liked how he came across. Yesterday, the same thing with Mark Bean, the Honorable Mark Bean. It was so refreshing, but he's always a great speaker. He says the right things. I just hope he gets another chance. This morning, I've gotten messages already about Mr. Neblett. He was refreshing, engaging, and the like. Let me say this to you. We discussed whether or not we're influenced by the media. I'm not here to tell you how to think, what to think, who to vote for. That's not my job. The only thing I really want to do through these conversations on this show and wherever I've been in media is that I want everyone to just think and consider other perspectives. I'm not here to change your mind. But what I will say, I disagree with the Honorable Mark Bean, and I disagree with the PLP about canvassing. I know that canvassing has worked for so long, but times change and things evolve. The PLP have got to understand it's not me being anti-PLP. I just disagree with you on how we should approach what's best for Bermuda. And I don't think what's best for Bermuda is controlling the narrative in the spaces when it comes to media. I don't think that canvassing on every doorstep, which to me becomes manipulation at some point. If someone's telling you they're not voting for you and you continue to go to those doors, that's manipulation. It's almost harassment. So to utilize the excuse that a candidate is canvassing, they can't make an event where the other candidates are? Really? To go to another space where you've already agreed to come on another, it's almost like you think the people of Bermuda are idiots. The one thing I'm going to say to the PLP, again, Reverend Emily, Dr. Emily Gildill, she's a part of the TDH community. She's one of us. And I feel for her. I really do. I really feel for her. But I'll say this much. You canvassed very hard for many years in Constituency 10. You see how that worked out for you. I could be wrong. Maybe the Reverend will be successful on Friday. My message to people in Constituency 36 is very simple. Don't be bullied, harassed, or feel forced to vote for someone just because, as a gang, they keep coming to your doorstep. Vote for the person you believe is going to be best for your family, your community, and yourself. That doesn't happen through words. You know, there's this thing that people keep saying about Kamala Harris in the US right now. She keeps saying she's going to do this, do that. But she's had the last 3.5 years to do it. All but 5 years, the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party have had the last 25 years to do everything that they say they're going to do. And while they'll champion things that they've accomplished, my former attorney once told me, if you want to figure out how to vote, compare your life today, the life of your community, your country, and yourself. Compare that today to the date of the last election. And that is how you can probably come up with the best way to vote. That's your daily inspiration for today. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.